All right. Well, let's start with you, Milo. Why did you single out a transgender student for ridicule during a recent speech you made on her campus? Did you do that?
Well, yes. First of all, wasn't a student. He had already left the university.
Miss Kramer has indeed stopped attending lessons at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, after a 10-month legal battle and constant harassment. She was, however, set to attend another college in the next semester in hopes of finishing her degree, so she was in fact a student, unlike Milo dishonestly asserts. She was simply in the process of changing to a different educational establishment, so was in the grey area in between, hence she still attended UWM events such as Milo's talk. Not to mention that the Chancellor himself recognized Miss Kramer as a transgender student, still part of their campus, in the rather watery letter that sounded great but really meant nothing, to which Miss Kramer later responded. So she was in a transitional period between two universities. That fact does not alleviate your harassment of her in any way, so why you felt the need to make the dishonest claim that she is no longer a student is beyond me. Also, your constant misgendering is not impressive at all.
And I make no apologies for protecting women and children
All right,
from men who are confused about their sexual identity.
Well, I'm confused about who this is because pronouns are so important. If you call Caitlyn Jenner he, you're a bad person. So
yeah,
this
I did it on purpose.
You did. So this is a man
I
who...
misgendered this person.
Right. So this is a man, born man, who wants to...
thinks that he might be a girl.
Okay.
And
you have a problem with that?
No, I don't have a problem with it, but I think that women and girls should be protected from having men who are confused about their sexual identities in their bathrooms. That's
not unreasonable.
That person who was an activist who took their own university to court to force his way into the female locker rooms had already left college by the time I gave that speech. And that was totally misreported by the press, just like they misreport everything else.
Jack, where do you stand on weirdos peeing?
Well, it sounds like fake news.
Did you just call transgender people weirdos?
Just to fuck with him.
That's really rude.
I think you two are doing a great job with this topic. I'm going to continue to keep going with it.
I don't really know anything.
So here we have the introduction of the myth of the trans predator, this recycled idea that black men want access to white bathrooms to rape our white women, that gays want access to our schools to rape our children, and now that trans and intersex individuals want access to our changing rooms to rape our women and our small girls. But thankfully, this is about to be picked up by Larry Wilmore. But both Bill and Jack are all too happy to jump onto this attack, not simply of a demographic, but a singled out individual as being a predator or part of this wider predator conspiracy. That's forgetting the dishonest quip about trans women simply being confused men or weirdos, as Bill puts it. Milo has made the assertion that Miss Kramer is a predatory threat to the women at UWM without any basis, and both Bill and Jack are 100% behind that. Does the word defamation mean anything to either of these three people? This isn't criticism. This is crossing the line into slander. This is not legal at all.
I'm just the pop star.
I just think it's sad because the same arguments that we use against gay people, treating them like aliens who just wanted to fuck anything that moved, and that's why we should avoid them at all costs.
No, I think there's a big difference.
Well, let me finish my thought, please. No, it's true. There's a difference without a distinction because it's using the same type of arguments. It's like when people try to compare gay and black. Yeah, they're not the same thing. No. We share an invisibility. People didn't see us in society, and gay people hid out from society. Mm-hmm. Right. But there were a lot of the same issues that you have to deal with when you're marginalized.
We understand people can be discriminated against.
No, that's a group that's
right?
marginalized, and so the attack, you can always find an extreme person that becomes the object of your attack to assign that to everybody. So if you say, well, that person is weird or they want to commit sexual assault, then everybody thinks all transgender people want to do is commit sexual assault.
But here's a fact, and I do appreciate what Larry Wilmore is saying, but Miss Kramer is not an extreme person. She was just living her life as you do when she was harassed by a cis woman for using the gym services available to her because of the UWM's own anti-discrimination policy, specifically declaring it okay for her to use said services based on her gender as opposed to her incorrectly assigned gender. In response to that, the university changed its policies quietly to try and take away the rights which it had previously given to Miss Kramer, so she took them to court. The ACLU stepped in, things got escalated, and it all took its toll on Miss Kramer, which is why she was transitioning to another university, which didn't have a history of abusing its trans students. That's not extreme. That's seeking some basic respect. And going back to what I noted earlier, it's not just transgender people who are affected. 2% of all live births are categorized into a demographic we currently refer to as intersex. Now, you've more than likely heard the outdated term, which is considered stigmatizing, i.e. hermaphrodite, in popular media. But the fact is, living as an intersex person is incredibly hard because of the amount of stigma surrounding it, which is why you're likely in shock at finding out that 2 in every 100 people is intersex. The university's changes furthered this stigma, as well as stigma towards trans people. So Miss Kramer wasn't simply fighting for trans people, of which, yes, there are very few out publicly, but potentially 2% or even more of all students at that university, if the student population reflects the general population in intersex enrollment rates, which it should. So I just needed to note that fact before we return to Milo's vile narrative.
Well, they are disproportionately involved in those kinds of crimes.
They're what?
Vastly disproportionately involved in sex crime.
Who is?
Gender people?
Yes, of
Based on what
course.
statistic?
I don't know.
That's not a controversial statistic. And
It is a
and
controversial statistic.
And frankly, you're saying, you're suggesting these people are the victims of some kind of discrimination. Well, I'm saying to you, this is a psychiatric disorder.
I didn't say discrimination. You
This
said
is a psychiatric
discrimination.
disorder,
I said marginalism.
like identity disorder, or like sociopathy or something. I don't want these people around little girls in Boston.
No. I'm saying, here's what I'm saying. This is what I said. The same argument we used against gay people. You should do your homework because
It was wrong then. It's right now. That's perfectly.
No. Homosexuality was called a disorder. It was a psychological disorder.
Maybe it is. I feel pretty disordered.
Well, maybe you are.
Maybe it is.
But most homosexuals are not.
Larry Wilmore came so close to a flawless victory in calling out Milo's total lack of evidence for his assertion that,
well, they are disproportionately involved in those kinds of crimes.
They're what?
Vastly disproportionately involved in sex crime.
Who is?
Gender people?
Yes.
Based on what statistic?
I don't know.
That's not a controversial statistic. And
It is a controversial
and frankly,
statistic.
but sadly, Milo is a master of deflection who instantly funnels the conversation away from a raw assertion he has just made on national television, which will be heard by millions and will be heard by millions more online without much challenge. He sidesteps all of that onto a completely different topic. Milo managed to fire off the red herring that being trans is a mental illness, as if that validates discrimination. It's a very slick sort of move that very nearly got him beached in a position where Larry Wilmore could just have bludgeoned Milo over his complete scientific illiteracy on national television. This is what allows so many people to come away from talks or conversations Milo has, thinking that he was some big success. Therefore, it's up to us to notice these points and point them out so he no longer gets away with it in future.
You know what?
no, I think most gays have a long road, actually. Most gays have a long road to coming to terms with their sexuality, and
because
all
of
them end up
the
happy
way
about it.
society treats
No,
them.
of course it isn't. Don't be ridiculous.
No, of course it's the way society treats them. If society said we're fine with gay people and it's 1890, you think in 1990 people are going to have an issue?
You're being very
with it?
obtuse. If I can't produce
There
a
may be
child with
another
the person
question.
I love,
Yes,
if I can't produce a child.
Does that make infertile people mentally ill? I get that Milo's a hard-on Catholic with a heavy load of internalized hatred, but seriously? Reproduction as your argument? First of all, you do realize that adoption and surrogacy exist, and secondly, 2 men and 2 women can potentially have children without any medical intervention whatsoever, so long as one is a trans person who is simply socially transitioned. Is that why you hate trans people? Because their very existence challenges your already flimsy argument even further.
All I know is this. I have one quick question. I'm not a journalist, and I may just be an old spy, but you were... You were talking about confusion. Were we talking about you?
What?
Because you sound very confused. You were talking
About
about
what?
people being confused about their sexuality, their
No,
position in the world.
no, I'm-
You know, I mean, I've been to Port Said in Naples, and you look like you've been there a few times. But because you seem to be very confused about who you are and what you
pulling your
are.
wallet out, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's all right, shipmate.
No, I'm
Okay, let's... See, do you always have to fight with everybody?
I
Can't you just-
don't.
can't
We
you
were
just
having
get
such a
along
nice
for-
time, but
I
you always
know.
invite such awful people on your show.
These are not-
They're so stupid.
Look at...
No, come on. You need
pretty
to
awful.
start inviting higher IQ guests, or this
I'm
is going to be a
getting better and
disaster.
better.
These-
That's what
First of all, wait.
These are very high.
Wait, hold on, Bill. You can go fuck yourself, all right?
Yeah.
You know? If your argument- hold on a second. No, Jack. And I'll let you go, Jack, because
If this is the face
if
of
your
the Nazis...
argument is that these people are stupid, you didn't hear a word this man said early in this segment, because he can talk circles around your
Right.
pathetic,
This guy-
douchey little ass for me.
I gotta defend my
And
man.
one last thing, and I'll let you defend it. Leslie Jones is not barely literate. Go fuck yourself again for that one.
Read her
okay?
Twitter feed. She can barely spell.
She's a very thoughtful person and very
Woman,
funny.
no,
Go ahead,
excuse
Jack.
me, excuse me. She can barely spell.
I do love the fact that someone who asserts they have evidence to justify denying people their rights, yet can never supply said evidence upon request, then turns around and calls those asking for said evidence names like stupid. But what's more is that Milo stormtroopers have been marching up and down the comment section on any related video or article, proclaiming that because Larry Wilmore called out Milo's ad hom by telling him to go fuck himself, that somehow means Milo won. If someone has just attempted to attack your IQ to try and invalidate your arguments or your request for evidence that what they assert is true is in fact true, what do you expect? Do you think Larry Wilmore should just bend over and take it? Or do you think he should call out the scientific illiteracy where it can clearly be seen, regardless of the debris Milo attempts to throw up to disguise his true form? Milo is a total wreck.
Larry, I'm a great fan of yours, man.
I'm a fan of yours.
We
yeah.
are all about the First Amendment here, and Milo,
Yeah.
go for it, brother, because I think what they did to you in Berkeley was
Wow,
atrocious.
talk about strange bedfellows.
No, are you kidding me? Why would that be strange? He's so handsome. That wouldn't be strange bedfellow. We'd make a lovely couple. We'd make a beautiful couple.
But see, I mean,
beautiful couple.
you know, you're relatively
He's
young.
white, so I'd say
just-
no.
I
But
just-
no, you'd make a beautiful couple.
Shut up for 1 fucking second. Really, I mean, look, this is the beginning of your career. People are only just starting to hate you.
I've got so many more years.
And I'm just saying, you have the potential to morph. I mean, you remind me like of a young, gay, alive Christopher Hitchens. But
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for ruining Hitchens for me. Hitchens defended ethics. Milo curb stomps them. Two people are not similar because they were both disliked. By that logic, Christopher Hitchens is also comparable to Hitler because the latter was also very much disliked. At least at the moment, because this is a fact that may change as Trump's empire grows. Hitchens did what he did because he sought to be right and could defend it as so. Milo does what he wants because he enjoys hurting people and makes a profit out of it, whilst ignoring requests for evidence. Do you really see Hitchens passing off the burden of proof like Milo did? Because I don't, so how you thought the two are comparable is beyond me.
yeah, but you gotta lose that kind of shit by telling them
What?
they're
Telling
because,
people they're
well,
stupid?
you
They
know
are
what?
being stupid.
This guy has
you
done,
can't say people are
this guy
stupid
has
when they're
done
stupid.
things that
Yes.
allowed you to fucking live.
All right,
You know, it's just
Milo, what we will do. I don't know Larry that well. I do know Malcolm very well. Malcolm and I have debated many times. We have become friends. The four of us are going to go out and buy beer together, right? Republicans with our magic R will pay for it, okay?
buy beer.
I don't know because unlike the rest of the people on the panel, I have the optic.
Milo, I have just one quick question.
Yes.
Are you the real true face of the alt-right? Because I thought the Nazis were in there. How did they take you on board?
This is one of the enduring mysteries of American media.
Oh, it's
How
a
can this
mystery.
movement be an anti-Semitic, white supremacist, hateful, bigoted, racist, homophobic movement, and
With
a gay
great
Jew who
pearls.
never shuts up about his black boyfriend is the head of it. Something's not quite right.
Yeah,
The pearls.
except that, like, they're not all your fans. Some of them are your
No,
fans.
they hate me. They hate me. I'm
Right.
saying this is the
Then
alt-right.
I like you.
Well, they don't all hate you.
No, you see, this is what the media doesn't report.
But
The
you're
Daily
playing it-
Stormer hates me. They declared holy war against me. The worst people on the very far left and the very, very far right all hate me. They all hate me.
Okay.
I think you're leaving out a lot of people.
But you're welcome here.
You see, it's a perfect, perfect example of how humor can bring people together.
Except there is no mystery to it. They see you as subhuman, but you have demonstrable use to them. Like a modern-day Ernst Röhm, they will use you as a way to get what they want, whilst also deflecting any criticism by the nature of your tokenism. And when that is no longer any use to them, they will dispose of you, and I hope that when that day comes, they don't have the power to physically dispose of you. Catholicism, meanwhile, the religion you are part of, is entirely structured around the concept of internalized hatred. You don't like who you are in being gay. You also view yourself as not really a Jew by heritage, as you were saved by Christ, because that's what Christians, including Hitler, view Christianity as. Reformed Judaism, with the real Jews being those who reject Christ. The fact is, when a movement comes to see you as subhuman, it becomes easy for them to use you as a tool, only to then simply dispose of you at a later date.
Former Congressman Jack Kingston, what?
I don't want a question. This is going real well. I'm just going to sit here.
What evidence of voter fraud have you seen that leads you to believe Donald Trump's claims? Yeah, Donald Trump and that guy we showed, Stephen Miller, said, I corroborate the president 100%. 2 to 3 million people voted illegally. I mean, this is one of those alt facts that has been disproved. There have not been anywhere near these kind of amounts of people who voted illegally. You're not really on that train, are you?
Bill, you had an alternative fact on the show with the claim that trans people are disproportionately predatory, and you've completely let that slide. What Milo is doing here in propagating the myth that trans people are merely monsters seeking to prey on the weak and vulnerable is dangerous, and allowing him to assert he has evidence like Ken Ham, Ray Comfort, or Hamza Sortsus without immediate demand to see said evidence is giving that damage a free pass. But not only that, you have allowed Milo to single out a student once more and make claims about their actions and motives that paint them as a predator invading women's locker rooms, rather than the reality, which is a woman wanting to use the same facilities available to every other woman to be treated as equal, not separate. But perhaps the most obvious thing you dropped in calling this anti-atheist Catholic a Hitchens in the making was the fact that Milo claims to be all about the protection of women and children, whilst actively supporting an institution that has actively been proven not only to attract masses of child rapists, but pass them from place to place so that they can rape more children whilst the law can't keep up. I would have thought as militant atheist we could have at least agreed on grilling the Catholic, but you seem set on comparing him to a man who had a justifiable, deep-set hatred for said institution, something which Hitchens dedicated much of his life to exposing on their faux charity and the many child abuse scandals that have come to light. And I can't, of course, mention this fact without mentioning the fact that has come to light recently that shows that Milo not only defends the Catholic Church, who does all of these horrible things, Milo himself has defended, on record, paedophilia, particularly by priests.
Right and wrong as far as what is
anyone try
right
and touch
and
you?
what
They
is
try and fiddle
wrong.
with you?
No, I got lucky. They beat me a little
What
bit.
do you mean you got
smacked
lucky?
me a
You
little
got
bit.
unlucky. You didn't get that taste of... no, I said, just like I said earlier, if it weren't for Father Michael, I would have given far less good head. I mean,
There was a real
earned
Father Michael?
So much less. You know, he's going to get killed now, but...
Who is Father Michael?
I'm not... No, I bet...
Is a real dude?
I shouldn't-
Made you suck his dick? For real?
Don't make me. I was quite enthusiastic about it. I fucked my English teacher too. But I
How
probably
old
shouldn't
was
say
he
that
at the
either.
time?
I don't know. He's quite young, quite hot.
Really?
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started? with Father Michael?
No, no.
Was that post the tranny?
Yeah, it was post. So I
thing?
wasn't I wasn't
Drag
abused
queen?
as a child. And I've tried.
Maybe as you get older
Maybe
and
I
your
should be
sex
celibate or
drive
something.
dries up a
I
little
always
bit.
think I would have made a good priest. Do you think I'd make a good priest? I think I'd make a good priest.
Well, you make a
Great
good priest if you think the guy that made you suck his dick was a good priest. That kind of good
He was
priest.
a great priest. Honestly, like he was
He was good other than that.
I've never had a better singing tutor. He was great.
Singing teacher.
He got notes out of me I didn't even know I could produce.
Well, he worked your plumbing.
Shattering the chandeliers, kind of.
But was he good outside of what he did? Like, was he a good religious scholar? Was he a good
I think he
teacher?
was just a parish priest. I mean, I
Just
really
a fucking
shouldn't.
creep getting his dick sucked. Then
He's gonna get lynched now.
how's he gonna get lynched? Do people know who he is?
I don't think so.
What's his name?
Well, I'm not saying anymore.
Well, how old were you at the time?
I'm not just.
You were a little kid and he was
Stop
like what?
it. You're trying to.
Was
you're
he in
trying
his
to-
20s or
See,
30s?
Yet another feminist strategy that you have adopted in addition to your language
What,
policing.
trying
is
to out pedophiles?
No, trying to go on this.
You were the one
witch-
who was
this witch hunt.
anti-pedophile
I
earlier.
told you it wasn't the pedophilia. I was
Well,
after I lost
certainly
my
is.
virginity. I was
How
in
old
my
were you?
teens. I was in my teens.
14.
I was in my teens.
You said
Something
you were
like
14.
something like that.
That's what you
I was
said.
in my-
14
I
is
was in my
pedophilia, buddy.
teens.
I don't know how they rock it in
I was
merry
in-
old England.
I was in my teens.
Over
I mean,
here in my country, and
you're saying
fucking
you've
where
never,
you are right now,
you've never
America.
seen a 15-year-old girl at any point in your life, however old you were, you've never seen a 15-year-old girl you thought was hot.
Yeah, when I was 15.
No, when
Thought
you
they
were
were hot as
25. When you were 25.
I'm not retarded, dude.
When you were 25, when you were 30, you will have seen
No.
girls about 15 you thought were hot.
No,
of
I thought
course
they
you
were little
did.
kids.
No, you didn't.
I thought,
Don't
damn,
talk
she's
bullshit.
gonna be hot, but I didn't want to fuck her.
Bullshit. Like
Not bullshit at all.
Look,
You can't tell me what I was born into.
I think if you're 14...
Born like this.
You were born this way. You were born a dreary nitpicker.
No, you're trying to make it so I'm a fucking creeper like you. No, I'm not into 14-year-olds. How dare you, sir? No.
I'm not into 14-year-olds.
Well, that
Don't
fucking
put this
guy
on
that
me.
you said's a great guy. He was into 14-year-olds.
Fantastic. It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
he's a terrible person.
No.
He certainly was.
I was a very mature 14-year-old.
Yeah. Well, in your case, he got it right. You got the right guy to molest.
It wasn't molestation.
That's absolutely
It
molestation.
wasn't molestation. It was perfectly consensual.
I don't think it is when they're 14.
When I was 14, trust me, I was the predator.
Oh.
I was the predator.
You
at
were the
14.
predator. You
I
were
was
chasing after the
I was
priest?
the
He was
instigator.
trying to stay
I
close to
was
God?
chasing everybody.
The fact is, there exists not a single piece of evidence that shows trans people to be a threat to anyone. If there was, we would have seen this when the bathroom debates erupted into mainstream media the last couple of years. But we haven't. I and others have only found one example in recorded history where a cis person used trans provisions to gain access to their victim. But the way justice works is not to punish the innocent for the acts of the guilty. I mean, a 2012 trans mental health study in the UK found that over 40% of trans respondents had been the victim of sexual assault, and in the US, this hangs around 50%. But not only are Milo's fears completely without evidence, the fact is that the discrimination, such as that Milo supports, carries with it a death toll whether the person is lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, or any other non-cisgender or non-heterosexual identity. All I can say is that I'm just very, very happy to see Milo's book offer get cancelled and several of his platform offers retracted as this entire thing boils over. Going back to what I said earlier about Ernst Röhm, I can't help but wonder if this is it. If this is finally the fascist right deciding that Milo has got too big and outlived his usefulness. Either way, it's certainly going to be fun to watch. There are a few things which I'd just like to add here at the end of this video. The first is a massive thank you to everyone who has ever donated to me via Patreon. Your fantastic support has given me the ability to keep this channel going, and I hope to continue producing content in the years to come. Secondly, I would like to thank anyone who has ever interacted with this channel. Your shares, likes and dislikes, as well as your comments of both approval and disapproval, have ensured constant feedback allowing me to improve my work. Last of all, I would like to express my desire that you treat any of the people displayed throughout the video with respect. Whilst it is true that ideas do not demand respect, and there are many in fact which deserve reprehension, we must be careful on how we tackle said ideas in ensuring we are not simply targeting the person. In short, be the compassionate side of reason. So take care, and I'll see you next time.